Hello everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of Bad Roommates. First up we have I Honestly Believe No One Will Believe Me by Allison7. Paul the Petty Man. How do I even start? Where do I start? I feel like a fool. I feel like he thinks it's a game. Okay, here goes. Some backstory. This man used to date my sister like 35 years ago. She was 17 and he 27. They didn't last long as lovers, because she was a child. She moved away to another state. They both kept in touch and stayed friends. I was 15 when they actually dated, though through the years I stayed in touch with him too, because whenever my sister came back home, we would all go out together, along with other friends. 3 years ago, his brother was renting in his apartment. When I say his apartment, I use that term loosely because this apartment has been rented by Paul for probably almost 25 years. His brother had the bedroom, but was not paying rent due to some issues. I was renting a room in a home not too far away. Paul came to me to ask if I would like to move in the bedroom where his brother was staying in, because he was kicking him out for non-payment of rent. This apartment is over the first floor that inhabits a few businesses. I move in. The apartment also has an attic, so his living space is really upstairs in the attic he made for himself, and I'm in the bedroom downstairs along where the kitchen, bathroom, and living room is. The rent stayed very low because he's been there so long, so we agreed on what I would pay, including utilities, and the promise he'd clean the living room because he kept all his board games there, from when he had his own game and gaming store. I'm 53 now. I do remember something my daughter had said before moving in, and I should have listened. Hindsight is always 20/20, and the situation I am in at this moment is beyond anything I thought I would ever go through. She said, "Ma, you sure that's a good idea? He's always had a crush on you." He did, but being the mature female, and him knowing full well I was not interested, I seriously thought it would be fine. Last year, at just about this time, a friend asked me if I would let a mutual friend stay with me. Both of these friends were men. I was already living here for 2 years. I did say I would have to run it by him, because that's what a roommate does. I checked, and he said sure, but not for long. I actually had my friend and Paul speak about it, so it was clear between them. My room is pretty small, but not tiny. The bed his brother left was a full size with furniture. I have a dog, so a crate is also taking up space. I've known my friend for years, so it didn't occur to me to sleep anywhere other than my bed. So, that first night it was crowded with my dog sleeping between us. After that night, everything changed. I started getting to know my friend on such a deep level. I mean, we talked and listened to music mostly, but we also watched TV, and he got me into some funny shows, and I discovered a whole new friend. Leaving out some very personal stuff we both shared, Paul started demanding I sleep upstairs with him. I, of course, said no. He was not happy I had a man in my room. He, Paul, started acting out. I was seriously confused and had to have talks with him because we all agreed on this, and now Paul was demanding my friend leave immediately. I felt like I was 15 and he was acting like my father. No, he definitely doesn't want to be that kind of daddy. Within a week, the climate in his apartment was below zero. We had done nothing wrong, but it became clear to me that whatever Paul was feeling for me was much more than a crush. But it was not my problem, quite right too. How he felt toward me should have stayed his own feelings, because the absolute hell I've gone through since this is nothing short of a horror story. I was a paying tenant. I was also a friend. But all of a sudden, me and my friend became the enemy. This was exactly a year ago, because that summer Paul found out that his beloved pitbull had kidney failure. It was so sad seeing her name was Stella, waste away. Paul decided he was going to keep her alive by giving her injections. It's something I wouldn't have done, but I accepted his decision. and I made it clear that I had a very hard time seeing her quality of life become non-existent. Well, it's very obvious that Paul is a man who thinks only of himself. That bothered me, but I never yelled or really voiced my opinion. I kept loving her. I would hear Paul yell at her because she kept peeing in the apartment and was no longer able to climb stairs. It was horrible seeing her deteriorate that way, but she wasn't my dog. I didn't know how to act because he became very accusatory toward me by saying I no longer give a shite about him. And he listed a few things to which I laughed because he actually said I was a selfish person for paying attention to the friend who was staying there, and ignoring him, which was a straight lie. What really happened was that Paul became combative with both of us, making us feel we were doing something terribly wrong. We did get a lot closer to each other, and that really bothered him. Long story short, after he left, Paul said how sorry he was for being an a-hole and hugged me. I felt rage. I accepted his apology, but something forever changed in me. After a few months, I invited said friend to come over and stay, without asking Paul because I knew my rights. It was only one night. Paul must have heard us, and after that day, made it his full-time job to get me out. He also spoke to my daughter behind my back, spreading lies. He served me eviction papers. I was pretty dumbfounded that he would do this to me. A few weeks went by and I went into the kitchen we shared, opened the refrigerator, and took a piece of cheese out. As I was heading to my room, he demanded it was his and to give it back, at which point I giggled because I thought he was joking. He wasn't. I then slammed my bedroom door in his face, and before I knew what happened, he was in my room with his hands on my neck, and I thought I was going to die. He released after I kicked him and immediately called the police. They came, and I explained I wasn't hurt but absolutely freaked out and wanted them to make him leave for the day. They decided to arrest him because he was acting like a maniac. Nightmarish enough? There's so much more. I just don't know how to even get the rest out right now. Well, I certainly hope you'll be out and away from him very, very soon. You thought he was a friend. Sometimes you think things about people, you trust people in certain ways, and it doesn't matter what other people around you are telling you. You have to experience it for yourself before you can accept the truth. I'm sorry that happened the way it did, but at least you don't have to deal with them again. And the second story today is Roommate Doesn't Want to Clean by Soulco. So I, female, 18, live on campus and share a room with two other girls. Dove, 18, and Eleanor, also 18. At the start of the semester, Dove was the only one cleaning the bathroom and taking out the trash. I'll admit I wasn't helping much at first either, but when Dove stopped, which was fair because no one else was pitching in, I started cleaning the bathroom every week or two and taking the trash out myself. After a while, I got tired of doing it alone, so I texted our group chat to suggest we start a cleaning schedule, just to make things fair since Dove was moving out, and it had basically just been me and Eleanor left. Here's how the conversation went. Hey y'all, I've noticed I've been the only one taking out the trash and cleaning the bathroom lately. I think we should make a cleaning schedule, like rotating who takes out the trash and who cleans the bathroom each week, so it's fair and everyone's doing their part. I just took out the trash and cleaned the bathroom today, so next week can be Eleanor and... You might want to edit your story, you left the real name on. And Dove next, if you start staying in the room again. Eleanor responded, Last time I cleaned the bathroom, including the shower, it hasn't been cleaned since. And I don't use that trash because I use the one by my bed, so respectfully, I'm not taking it out. Okay, well, you've cleaned it once, and I've cleaned it every other time since we've been here. All I'm saying is we need to start taking turns each week. I've cleaned it more, and personally, I couldn't tell you cleaned it. I have no problem taking turns, but I feel like it wouldn't be fair for me to constantly clean it as I'm not seeing the same from anybody else, you know? I say, girl, be for real, you have never cleaned that bathroom. The last time I did it, I scrubbed the shower, toilet, sink, mirror, even swept the whole room. And it's been the exact same since. If you cleaned, then I must have missed it, because nothing in there ever looks touched after you. Eleanor responds, I literally did that and lifted the toilet, moved the soap and stuff off the shower floor, wiped all that hair and that pink stuff off the shower too. The stuff that's messy is from you. Like your stuff on the counter. You could probably see a little blue hair from me, but if nothing looked touched after me, I don't know. You should clean your stuff. That was one time. My stuff on the counter doesn't make the bathroom dirty. Those are just my personal things. The actual dirt, hair, and literal mold growing by the shower is built up from everyone. I'm not going to keep going back and forth with you. I said what I said, and that's just what it's going to be. Basically, she swears she's been cleaning when she hasn't. I've literally scraped the mold. See, I wonder what her definition of cleaning is. I'll bet it's not actual cleaning. She's probably just moving things about, like she said. I've literally scraped mold off the shower. She claims she cleaned and wiped everything down multiple times. She refuses to take the main trash out because she only uses her own trash bag, a nylon bag, by her bed. But somehow, the main trash is always full, and she's the only one who cooks. How are the rest of you living then? Whatever. It's not the main point of the story. She then tried to say I don't clean properly, which is wild because I grew up in a Nigerian household. Trust, I know how to clean. But I just want her to keep things decent. Wipe the counters, mirrors, and toilets, sweep the floor, remove the bath mats, basic stuff. I just don't know what to do. Help! And story number 3 today is Dealing with a Difficult Roommate by Working Staff, 7899. I live with 3 other roommates, and one of them has been really difficult to live with. She is extremely particular about shared spaces and chores, but she doesn't hold herself to the same standards. That's honestly the main reason I'm so frustrated. It's not that she points out issues, it's that she expects everyone else to follow rules she doesn't follow herself. Almost like you're the help and she's the lady of the manor. I'm also not a very confrontational person, learn, so navigating this has been especially draining. The apartment layout is basically a straight line. 2 rooms and a bathroom on one end, the kitchen and living room in the middle, and 2 more rooms with a bathroom on the other side. She lives on the opposite end from me, but that hasn't stopped her from acting like she's running the whole place. Everyone talks on the phone or has friends over occasionally, which is normal. But she frequently has people over for hours in the evenings or at night, yelling and laughing with doors open, heavily treating the living room as her own hangout space. Meanwhile, if anyone else talks at a normal volume on the phone, she comes over and asks me to quiet her, to which I respond, no. To my knowledge, she hasn't said this to anyone else. I can't help but feel it might be because I once approached her when she was extremely loud while I was studying. That's why it'll be, but I could be wrong. I've also given her the benefit of the doubt multiple times when she's been loud on the phone herself. The first time I spoke to her in person, she immediately launched into a lecture about how the apartment smelled and how the garbage can was disgusting and made her want to throw up. Okay, deflection is what that is, obviously. I had told her via text I wouldn't be there for 5 days before she moved in, so it was just another roommate during that time. Instead of clarifying, she held a group meeting and made a big deal out of it again. She also has a very condescending smile when she talks to people, which only makes interactions feel more frustrating. The kitchen has been another major source of tension. She constantly complains about smells, but leaves her own dirty pan and spatula on the stove for over a week. Ew. Just yesterday, I struggled to make my pizza because the stove was crowded with her items and another roommate's pot. She's also scolded us for not washing a small food scrap bin over a long weekend when she was away, called meetings about fruit flies, lectured us about taking initiative, and complained about not sweeping or mopping immediately after cooking. Her tone often comes across as condescending, even when the issues aren't serious. One incident with the garbage can really stands out. She left for a weekend and expected it to be washed while she was gone. When it wasn't done for a couple of days, she cornered the roommate who lives in my side of the apartment and lectured her in a really condescending way. I could hear the entire interaction from my room. My roommate ended up rushing to clean the trash can, dry it, and put a new garbage bag in it. Yesterday I was in the kitchen doing my skincare while on call with my boyfriend at a normal volume. She walked over from the kitchen and said, "I can hear you from my room. Can you please be quieter?" I said, "Okay, sure." No, the answer is always no to this. But I was honestly stunned. Everyone else talks on the phone all the time, and I've tried giving her the benefit of the doubt in similar situations. No more of that. My frustration isn't that she notices problems, is that she expects everyone else to follow the rules while not holding herself to them. Well, if you go looking for problems, you're gonna find them. On top of everything, she's really intimidating. I'll bet you think she is. And often says things without thinking. No, I'm sure she actually does it with thinking, which makes people feel bad. It's all deliberate. Stop giving her the benefit of the doubt. I'm not a confrontational person. Well, the good news is that is a skill you can learn. So dealing with her has been especially exhausting. You need to basically practice confronting her, dealing with her, telling her to F off, telling her no when she asks you to do something, and calling her out on her bullcrap at every turn. It's not going to be pleasant to live there, but it's not going to get more pleasant by you just staying quiet about it. Deal with it head on. Alright, story number 4. Let's see. Oh, I had to save that one. The OP said they deleted, but I should save it. Okay, there we go. We'll just mark this anonymous since the person did delete it. I, 27, understand that I'm in danger of being ratioed here and just ask that you hear me out. I want to make it clear that everyone has different cleanliness habits, and I'm not in any way trying to paint myself as perfect. Generally, I would always clean my station. We had a weekly rotation, leave no visible messes, and I never leave any dishes after cooking. I always want to be respectful of my living partners if they communicate issues with me, because I am a relatively fair person, I think. So 2 things happened earlier this year. The first is that I hurt my back. Pretty bad. Bulging disc in the L5. And the second is I got a new roommate around the same time. Let's call him Calvin. I had had disagreements with my longer-standing roommate of 2 years, Culber, but we had been uncommunicative and passive-aggressively avoiding each other for a while, like aggressive ships in the night. Most of it was because I was broke and couldn't afford some of the shared cleaning supplies. Anyway, when Calvin moved in, I politely asked for both of them to have augmented chores to account for my injury, as I could barely work, let alone mop all of the floors. They were both decently okay with it at first, then one day I got a new bed delivered. Old one wasn't firm enough, and during this Calvin was deep cleaning the kitchen. I didn't time it exactly, but he was in there for roughly 8 hours from around noon till 8:45-ish. As I went in and out, we had those polite interactions, and he asked me to deep clean all of my appliances right away so they don't, and I quote, breed mutant bacteria that could kill him. That attitude might kill him. I didn't totally blow him off because my air fryer was pretty disgusting, and I washed that in front of him. But I said I would do the rest tomorrow because there was 2 years' worth of trash under my bed that I had to clean up and my back hurt. So this is when it really hit the fan. I got a group message from our landlord stating that both of them went to him and said I had totally disrespected Calvin's need for cleanliness and that I was rudely avoiding chores out of pure laziness. Gonna have to get a doctor's note. Just for the record, I communicated to him several times just to tell me whenever he needed, and I would work my best, which I was. All I did in this case was politely tell him I would do it tomorrow. I also want to specify Calvin did do my chores a week before, but he nicely offered because my back situation, and I tried to make sure it was okay several times before I let him do it. This was basically him using that against me after the fact. So, this was the start of my hostile living environment. We had a roommate meeting soon after, which was basically me trying to be as polite as I possibly could, while the 2 of them ganged up on me for an hour and a half. You should have just walked out. A lot of it was outside of cleaning and just attacking my character. Of course they're attacking your character, they have none of their own. I was even gaslit, saying that I never communicated to them about my back injury, and that I was just lazy. There was a whole new addendum added to the lease, basically targeting me, saying that if I didn't do my chores to their liking, I would continually get fees taken out of my deposit. That's called theft. That would have to be agreed before you signed the roommate agreement, which you haven't, so they can't just add it to it. I would like to add also, even during this situation, I tried my best and never left any visible messes at my station when I did the chores. It was like everything just exploded overnight. There was no sympathy left for my physical limitations, and there were constantly messages in our group chat targeting me or asking me to clean something. My favorite example is when they texted our landlord after midnight. Landlord's not daddy, what are they doing? Because of 2 water spots on the bathroom mirror. Oh, okay, so I didn't realize there were water spots. You're a complete monster. Eventually I stopped leaving my room as much as I possibly could because I was so paranoid that touching anything would lead to getting a message from Calvin, which it often would. I think the worst thing happened is when I left my room unlocked to go stay with my parents. I would spend weekends there during this to get away from it all, to return to find my door wide open and a couple of things were moved. Later that night, another text from my landlord emphasizing the importance of keeping our private rooms clean. Well, he needs a text emphasizing the importance of keeping your private rooms private. So he went into my room without my consent. Landlord wouldn't confirm this to me, but there's no other way I can interpret this when my door was certainly closed. I also want to say that, in fairness, some of the things they said about me were valid and I understand, irrelevant if they're attacking you. I'm not the type of person to take criticism lightly. I just feel that this was badly handled by them. I really doubt it was about whatever feelings you might have had as a roommate. They're obviously a couple of petty little bitches. And to further address the too clean part of this story, a big reason why I was afraid to leave my room was because Calvin was always outside of his, deep cleaning stuff for multiple hours on time. I happen to be a person with OCD, and if there's one thing that I hate, it's people who passive-aggressively try to diagnose others with OCD just for being clean. However, the way Calvin spoke about these fears makes me think if he didn't have OCD, it was at least a severe case of health anxiety. I struggle a lot with contamination OCD, and a couple of other flavors as well, so I empathize with his anxiety around these things. But I don't understand this idea of forcing your strong standards and anxious compulsions onto another person, and decreasing their quality of life because of it. Anyway, I moved out and blocked both of them. Excellent, that's what we call a result. Kept my landlord's number because we had an okay relationship. And I often bake for him. No more cookies for him. They should have took your side of the wanted cookies. Just in case he would need to contact me about mail or something. My biggest fear about this is that I'm still the bad guy. It's kind of it's a fact. You'll have to accept that you are the bad guy to them. It's because it's become a cliche, but cliches are cliches for a reason. Everybody is the villain in somebody's story, just like everyone's the hero, I suppose. I've been both for some people, and sometimes I'm the villain in my own story. But if I work real hard one day, I might be the hero again. You can't control it. All you can do is act in a way that you think is fair. If you think you've acted out of turn, learn the lesson from that and don't act that way again. And if you think you've genuinely done right after you've considered and analysed your actions, then just accept that you can't control what other people think of you. But there's a bit more to go. Because I know how it looks when everyone else in my situation is telling me I'm wrong. That's the aspect about this that makes me feel crazy, because I genuinely think I'm not wrong. And then again, who does in these situations? Am I wrong? I mean, from what you've said here, unless you're leaving details out, you were injured, asked the roommates if they could pick up the slack, and then they decided just to be dicks to you? Did I miss a paragraph? I don't see how you're in the wrong. Edit. Adding some context. I did communicate that my augmented chores situation was temporary, and that I would make it up to them later once I recovered. I never claimed to be great at cleaning, but I also never said no to any of their cleaning requests. They always got done. For those expressing they would be angry if they cleaned for 8 hours, who was asking him to clean for 8 hours? That's just his weird obsession. My biggest issue with that was that no one asked him to do it. It was later used against me, saying that it was all my fault and that he had to and I was selfish. But I felt that he spent that amount of time out of his own free will. My just wanting to get to it the next day was perfectly fair. Like I said, it all got done. This also falls in line with him willingly offering to do my chores because he wanted to, then later getting mad at me about it. Yeah, I mean, it sounds like he's got a whole bunch of other problems there that I ain't even gonna touch, but that's between him and his therapist. Another piece of context I said in my comments, but not here, was that when Calvin entered my room, landlord basically just told me to keep my door locked, and as far as I know, there was no discipline towards him about it. Which, yeah, it's fair, because they're the landlord, they're not your father. Landlord really doesn't want to be bothered by most of it. I saw them being friendly together all the time. Ironic, because Calvin literally locked his door whenever he peed or took a shower. Fair. Not exaggerating. Not trying to sound defensive here, just preemptively trying to clear some stuff up. Well, the plus side is you're away from it now. I mean, maybe there was something else bubbling under the surface you weren't aware of, that they never brought up to you, and you just weren't compatible as roommates, then great, you're not roommates anymore, so you don't have to deal with them again. It may be a little bit of time before you can let it go, but you will let it go eventually, and you'll look back and it just won't matter. And the fifth and final story today is Need Advice/Vent by Commercial Law 3434. Me and my friend have an off-campus apartment that we pay for and stuff. A month ago, we had a friend who lost her housing to financial circumstance and needed somewhere to stay, so we said she could stay with us till she gets back on her feet. It was a good couple of days, but then her boyfriend, they aren't even together, calls us asking to stay with us too. Nope, because he wants to be there to support her. Aw, so nice, do it from afar. And mind you, we are under the impression that she will get back on her feet in a couple of weeks or so because she has somewhere to stay and can commute to school. She just thought it would be easier to be nearby, right? So back to the story. He asked to stay, and he's also a student, but he commutes, and he's been in the housing wait list for a while, and me and my roommate feel some sort of empathy because he has to wake up early and do an hour commute to get to campus. But now looking back, he signed up for those classes, he shouldn't be complaining. Anyways, back to the story. Long story short, we let him stay and allow them to crash in the living room. At first we didn't have a blow-up bed, so me and my roommate made other arrangements for them until we got one for them, because our couch wasn't big enough. The first night the walls are thin, I could hear them having sex in my roommate's bed, and it was disrupting our sleep. Yeah, it's actually kind of rude. But, you know, we didn't say much, we just made jokes. These jokes were where you nicely say, stop! No, really, though. Somebody stop the shagging! About it, and it kept happening. And her man friend would just say, you know, I have needs. Buddy, food's a need, sleep's a need, water's a need. Sex is awesome! But you can live without it. Not much of a life, mind you. Unless you're asexual. In which case, cake and sandwiches are also fun. And the girl would lie to our faces and say they didn't have sex, and would never disrespect our space like that. Sure, Jan. So, we get the blow-up bed, and me and my roommate are sleeping in our beds. But that's not it. The girl's man friend has been eating our food and complaining when we asked him to buy $5 of water cases on our grocery run. And one time we asked him to buy us food because me and my roommate were busy with schoolwork. And he complained, but did it, and the girl got mad at us because that's all his food money. And I just felt like that was funny, not gonna lie, because they've been staying with us rent-free for almost 2 months now, and him spending $30 for me and her to eat was insensitive to him? But my final straw was me and my roommate leaving for the weekend, and them deciding to stay there. They didn't leave the whole time. and they said they cleaned, but I swear I could do better and always do. I found out from my roommate, who came home earlier, that they slept in my bed and were having sex and stuff on my bed, and I found that so disrespectful. I want to set the bed on fire. Ooh. Honestly, I want to tell them that they've taken advantage of our kindness. You should do that, use those words. But I feel like I'm overreacting by telling them the truth. No. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's ways to tell people the truth. That, you've got to sugarcoat it for some people, but I really mean, given what they've done to you, I wouldn't bother. Because my roommate seems to not care as much as I do. Well, bully for them, I guess. I genuinely want to tell them to go home. They have a place to stay at their parents' home, and the girl is doing online classes, so I don't see the issue. There you go, solution. And her man friend doesn't even go to his classes most days, so I don't understand why they chose to stay with us so much. Because of the shagging, they can't do that at their respective places. But now the girl applied for a job near campus and said she'd be staying longer. Oh, did she now? Did she ask? Was she invited? No. Get that bitch out of your apartment. I was also trying to indirectly drop a hint for them to leave, do it directly. But her man friend said he wanted to stay till the summer to save for money, and people in hell want popsicles. Go suck one. I feel bad to tell her to leave, but I can't deal with it. And they still aren't even dating. Oh, they've got a situationship. You've just got to basically straight up tell them it's time to go. If your other roommate's not bothered, then they won't be that bothered when you tell these losers to get out of your place. You've been kind, you've been generous, it's time for them to go. People. Bloody hell. And I'm out of tea. That brings us to the end of today's video. Thank you very much to everyone who allowed me to use their stories. If you'd like to support the channel, you can sign up for my Patreon page, which is linked down there in the description. $1 or more a month, whatever you're comfortable supporting, gets you early access to these videos on Monday. There's also a link to my merchandise store on Teespring. You'll also find links there to my Discord server, as well as threads, and if you need to contact me for any reason, kingofthecities@gmail.com, spelled for you in the description, if you need to send me a story, ask for a shout out, or you have any business inquiries. But for now, I'm going to head off because it's one of those weeks. Everything's coming together later in the week all at once, so I've got a lot of recording to do. So until next time, thank you very much for watching, and take very good care of yourselves.